Okay, so basically, I'm based 40 k's outside of Sydney in a small suburb called Cobbitty. So I actually come from Sabie in South Africa. So when I heard we were coming to Sydney, I was totally freaking out because I'm like totally not a city girl. So when we landed this side, I was like, okay, no, there was a reason for it because it's a little bit quieter. So we landed on the 21st of March, so still very fresh in Australia.
I'm Dr. Shamini Tablanche, ex-corporate and academical, turned CEO and board member of several companies and mother of 4 little extraordinary kids. But it wasn't that long ago that I lacked the confidence, the know-how, and the time to focus on designing and really going after the life that I so wanted to live. A life of freedom, of fairness, and of being fair dinkum to who I really was and what I wanted to get out of this fleeting time that we have on Mother Earth. Fast forward to many lessons learned and moving halfway around the world to the most amazing country, you'll see the life that I now live. One that gives me more safety and freedom than I ever thought would be possible, and that really only existed as a daydream while I was living in South Africa. I created Shamini TV to give you true spot advice on how you can also live a life in this amazing country, and so that you can see how another couple like us now live in Australia with 4 little kids here in Down Under. And I'll be providing you with step-by-step strategies so that you can make your Aussie dream a reality too. If you're a keen future Aussie who's looking to create a life that excites you and offers you safety, freedom, and opportunity, you have come to the right place, my friend. Welcome aboard.
Hi, Isabella. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from sunny, locked down Sydney. How is it going?
Oh, it's going wonderful. Thank you. It's lovely. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. Now, tell us firstly, where in Sydney and what's been happening with the lockdown?
Okay, so basically, I'm based 40 k's outside of Sydney in a small suburb called Cobbitty. So I actually come from Sabie in South Africa. So when I heard we were coming to Sydney, I was totally freaking out because I'm like totally not a city girl. So when we landed this side, I was like, okay, no, there was a reason for it because it's a little bit quieter. But now, in terms of the lockdown, I literally don't know what the people is freaking out about because they said that the lockdown kicked in last night at 6 o'clock and all the grocery stores and everything are still open and you can still get all your necessities. But I went to the store yesterday and Woolies was like packed. The line was outside the door. The toilet paper was gone. The long life milk was gone. The bread was finished. So everybody's losing their minds again. And I literally don't know why, because you still can go out, you can go exercise. So typical, I don't know like why they're freaking out. But
it's the hype. It's the hype and social media and everything that people can say online these days. Can you imagine if it was pre-Facebook times? The lockdown would have happened and you would have just gone about doing your same thing.
But you know what? I think it's like a mental thing because I was actually discussing it with my husband this morning. And in terms of my daily routine, like I work from home in any case. So for me, it's like you're just going on because I work from home. We can still walk the dog. So it's normal. But now that I know it's lockdown, like in my mind, I'm freaking out and I'm like, but I need to go somewhere. I need to do something. So I think it's just like a mental thing.
It's exactly like when somebody tells you you're not allowed to go in that room.
Then you need to do it. Yeah.
Yes, it's a challenge.
It's totally a mental thing, but yeah.
Okay, so how long have you guys been in Sydney for? When did you come to Australia?
So we landed on the 21st of March, so still very fresh in Australia.
As in 2 months ago?
Yes, 2 months ago.
Or 3 or whatever the math is. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. And when did you start thinking about coming to Australia? Run us through that process. What happened?
So basically, it was always a thing for me that I wanted to do. Even after leaving school, I knew I wanted to get out of South Africa. I know like most people have a specific reason or something that happened or that they wanted to make the move. But for me, it wasn't like that. I just knew that it was something that I wanted to do and try out. So I studied in Potchefstroom. And when I met my husband, like I think one of the first things I told him was like, if you want to make this work, we're going to Australia whenever. like somewhere in our future, we're going to Australia. So obviously it was just a pipe dream and something we talked about. And then when we got married, I said, well, why spend the money on going on honeymoon? Let's rather spend it and go see what Australia is like. So that was 3 years ago. So we went to Perth for 3 weeks and then we popped over to Bali just to have like the honeymoon. But after that, when we got back in South Africa, we said, no, we're doing this. It's no more pipe dream. Now we're starting the process. So we found the agent. But the problem at that stage was we were very young. So according to the point system, we were struggling to make up the necessary points because we didn't have the experience. So it was a very long process. And we would, like I said, we started it 3 years ago. And then last year, December, a sponsorship came up and that helped the process along. So my husband got a sponsorship and that's how we then got in. Otherwise, I think it would still maybe be another year or so to get the necessary points for the skills and the experience. So we were very, very lucky, and we were very lucky in COVID because he's a programmer, so his skills falls on the shortage list, and that's the only reason we literally got in COVID and got a flight exemption. So it was like amazing, yeah.
Oh wow! So you fled a place of lots and lots and lots of COVID around you to somewhere where they have a lockdown because you have what, 10 cases?
we at the moment we've got 30 cases, yeah.
Woo.
Yeah,
you need to be careful there, Isabella.
I'm telling you. And it was so funny when we got out of quarantine, we were like, why is no one wearing masks? And everyone's just carrying on like normal. And we were coming from South Africa where it was like masks and sanitizing. And we were just like, it was so weird to now get back into the routine of everything is fine and you can just carry on normally. So yeah, it was quite an adjustment.
Wow, surreal, I'd say, yes. Okay, so how old are you guys? You said you
27. Yep.
So both your husband and yourself?
Yes, correct.
And you finished studies when you were 22, 3?
I've got no idea. 2017, 2016.
Okay,
I don't know.
4 years
ago. 4
Yeah.
years, 5 years ago, yeah.
So how long work experience did
well,
you
not
need
four,
to have?
no, not 4 years ago, because at this current stage, let's see, 2012, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, we finished in 2016 and then we started work. So at the stage of applying for the visa, both of us only had a year experience. Obviously, at this stage, it's a little bit more, but that counts against you, because even if you complete your English test, your PTE or whatever, and you still get the necessary scores needed and you do your skills assessment, the experience was a problem and counted against us. And the big reason is both of us has a degree, so that counted for us, but my experience wasn't saw by them because I worked in a very small firm. I've got a degree in business management and I went into a family business. So if you want to have a positive skills assessment for a business management or a CEO, whatever, anything in business management area, you need to be in a very big corporate organization for the skills assessment to be positive. So basically we only could go on his skills because mine was like absolutely worth of nothing. So
yeah.
that is where we had a big problem.
Okay, so you guys knew that you had to work a little bit longer and then reapply.
Yeah, so basically what we did is we just carried on with the process. We did the PTE, we did the skills assessment, and we obviously that took long, like getting the police clearances. So in the meantime, we built up the experience. And then, as I said, out of the blue, the sponsorship came along and just helped it along, because otherwise I think, and obviously with the COVID, if we didn't make the move the time we did, I think we would still be stuck in South Africa.
So did your husband look for a job, or did somebody share his name with somebody else randomly, or how did that work?
So because we went to Perth 3 years ago, we were heavy focused on going to Perth because we had some people we knew that side. So I think it would have been a little bit of a softer landing. So we were like pushing for Perth. But the problem is, since Australia divides the skills into different regions where they need the skills, Perth wasn't seen or wasn't accepting any IT because they've got a flood of local IT in Perth. So it just didn't work out. And then he was advertising on, there's like a South African site where the programmers do advertise for if they do freelancing. And the company from Australia contacted him because I assume it's cheap labor if they pay in dollars or they pay you in rands. So then he actually started to work for the company in Sydney for a year. And there was no sponsorship on the table, but in this process, we were busy with the process. And the one evening, we were actually in the Cape for holiday, and I said, just ask them. I mean, just put it out there. Tell them, listen, we're busy with the process, and maybe they'll sponsor you. And then they said it's fine, because unfortunately at that stage we already covered a lot of the costs. So for them only, it was just I think a little bit of the visa that was outstanding to cover. So it wasn't like a full sponsorship, but it got the foot in the door. So they said it's fine, they'll pay the rest and bring them over. So yeah, but it was like, it's like putting a chocolate in front of a child and then taking it away, because they said, okay, it's fine, they're going to sponsor. And then they have an office in Ulladulla. So it's a very small town close by the coast. And obviously I was like, okay, this is perfect. This is like holiday town. We're going there. And then to get a sponsorship, they need to advertise the position for 4 weeks to prove that there's no one in Oz that can do it. So, or 6 weeks, I'm not even sure. So they did that for Ulladulla, and then COVID hit and they closed the offices there. And then they said, okay, well, now we need to do it for Sydney. So then the whole process started again. Everything started over, advertising started over, new visas was lodged. So it was like 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back. It was such a stressful period. And then just when the visas was approved, you wouldn't believe it, then his boss was playing golf on the golf course mid-COVID, and a tree fell on him and he died. And now we're like in South Africa, everyone on this side is freaking out. We've got like, no one is communicating with us. We don't know even if the sponsorship is still carrying on. Is the business closing down? We're packing up our house. We're like just sitting there and it's so uncertain, because now you don't know, like, is his wife going to keep the business? What's going to happen? So it was very uncertain times.
Goody, wow. Okay, so I assume she decided to keep on with the business. And somebody got in touch.
Yeah, at the moment, well, that happened like in January, so it's still very fresh. At the moment, she has carried on with it and she's trying to keep it afloat. So yeah. But obviously, if you're sitting in South Africa and this is happening and your life has been on hold, and then now this happens, it's very stressful.
Were you in Porch at that time?
No. We were already back working in Sabie. We left Porch after studies, so that was around about 4 years ago, yeah.
Okay, so you were permanently in Sabie.
Yeah,
in Sabie.
I grew up in Sabie. I went to Porch, and then I joke about it, but I got a husband and I went back home.
So you told him.
I told him
if you're going to stay in Sabie, and then it's going to be Australia.
That's exactly. I put it out there.
And he said, yes, ma'am.
Well, you had to.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, that's really lovely. Reminds me of my husband. I said to him, there's only one way we're getting married, buddy, is that if you're joining me in Australia, because I was
you see.
That's it. So you went to Australia without having ever been overseas.
Okay.
Or he had no intentions of leaving South Africa, but
obviously he had one.
Clearly he liked me enough to make the big move. So I'm like, cool.
Sure.
So tell me, Isabella, you said you're working from home now?
Yes, I'm working from home now. Usually I actually go into office 2 times a week, but now with the COVID restrictions, I have been working from home already for 2 weeks before the lockdown now hit. Yeah.
And what are you doing and who are you working for?
So back in South Africa, I was a supply chain manager. So I landed a position at a company called CNH. So what we do is Case and New Holland's agricultural, we bring it in from Italy, and then I work in the logistical team where we distribute through Australia.
Oh, so that's exciting.
It's quite exciting because I haven't been in imports, and so all the rules and the things, especially for Australia, and being so strict is quite something to get used to and to get my head around, but I'm enjoying it, so that's good.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, there are some beautiful spots. Have you guys been able to drive around yet?
We actually have. We have seen some places, and we're planning in December to do another road trip. So we actually have, and there's a lot of beautiful spots. And after obviously now landing in New South Wales, we were like, no, we'll never trade it.
Oh yes, it's beautiful. The greenery around Sydney area to me is incredible.
Lovely.
And you haven't, in my view, you haven't experienced Sydney if you haven't driven on those roads up and down the coast.
Correct.
In and out of Sydney.
So that's what we try and do. We always say, like, we don't take the highway to the small towns. So if we plan a road trip, I always try and go coastal or take like the scenic route. So yeah, so then it's lovely to experience all the beautiful spots.
Oh, it's gorgeous. So when you guys decided, okay, well, your husband's work told him they'll sponsor you over, how long was that before, from when you heard that until you actually made the move?
I think around about 6 months. We landed in March, and just before December, November, they said that they'll sponsor. So from November till March, it took to finalize everything.
So that gave you enough time to pack and organize all your things in South Africa?
Well, at least we were not tied up. Like, we didn't have any property to sell. We literally had 2 cars that we needed to sell. We had 2 dogs that we brought over, so that was easy to arrange. Okay, obviously, at least when we started the whole Aussie thing, and I think people taking over their pets that doesn't realize this. So they think you'll start doing the pets when you get your visa, and that's when the pets stay behind for so long and you go over, because the pets actually take longer than you take.
18 months plus, from my understanding.
So we started the pets when we started our visa application. We started them, so they literally flew out a month after we did. But we didn't have a lot of ends to tie up. We literally packed up house, and we used removal companies. So they came 2 days, the house was packed and shipped. So it wasn't much little tying up to do. It was basically just getting all the papers, getting the flight tickets, and getting ourselves on the plane. So that created an issue, because we had to sign our lease, because we were lucky enough to secure a house from South Africa. I know that doesn't happen. So we were very lucky. We rented our property, I think, a month in advance, paying from South Africa for it. So getting here, we had to sign the lease and pick up the keys. So they sent us the contract, and we thought, oh, well, we're going to sign it and post it back. And then they're like, you couldn't post it out. So now we were stuck, because if you get out of quarantine, where do you go? Because you don't have keys or you didn't sign a lease. So that created a little bit of obstacles.
Interesting that you were allowed to do that. Was that through a private organization that you could, like did you know the person who you're renting from?
Oh no, we were just everyone asks me, how did you do it? And I'm just, it was just luck. We looked for a property online, and we found, I think it's on real estate. So we applied on real estate, and the agent contacted us. They said, listen, we sent someone to the open house, someone from my husband's work. We asked them to go to the open house to see if it's all right and as the pictures. And then we completed the application. We got references. We submitted up. I made pet CVs for the dogs, because of the pets, it's quite difficult. So I submitted the pet CVs. And then she phoned and she said, well, if you're going to pay the rent from South Africa, the house is yours. So, we were very lucky. Actually, the day I went to sign the lease, I was like, can you please explain to me why this happened to us? Because everybody's asking me, and I don't know what to tell them. Why did you give us the house? And she says, you know what? The only reason that I decided to give it to someone, even though you were not in Australia, is because I worked with another South African couple 2 months ago, and they were just amazing, and they're looking after the property, and that's why I just thought maybe that would be the same.
Awesome. And tell me a little bit about your dogs and bringing them over. What type of dogs do you have, and explain us how that process more or less worked for you?
We've got 2 Yorkshire Terriers, so at least they're tiny. So it is quite a big process, and the main thing is, there's a lot of timelines linked to it. So the process is there's not a lot of steps, but the steps are very far out of each other. Like if you do your rabies, for example, they get a rabies shot, then they have to wait, I think it's 60 days before they can do a rabies test. And then after the rabies test is done, I think it's 180 days waiting period before they can start the rest of the process. So it's basically the first 3 steps that prolongs the process. But other than that, I think when people look at the process, they think it's overwhelming, but it's actually not. We did all the preparation ourselves. The only thing we used the agent for was the traveling and the traveling costs, organizing the flights and the boarding before. But it's not. It's basically in the whole process, you'll visit the vet, I think maybe 5 times. It's not that much. And there's a lot of blood tests that obviously gets done and gets sent to Onder Support. But other than that, it's not as overwhelming as it seems at first sight. Because when I started it as well, I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? This is like a whole thing, and there's so many steps. And then as soon as you start it, you see that it just takes long because the waiting periods are long. It's not that there's too many steps and that you can miss anything. It's literally not that bad.
Why did you move to outside of Sydney? Is that close to your husband's work?
Yes. So my husband works in Smeaton Grange, and we live 15 minutes from his work. So it was all based on where he would work.
So convenient. What an interesting, lovely story to hear, especially how people have supported you. As you say, Isabella, you have angels.
No, we've got a lot of angels everywhere. And the best thing is, like, we made such good friends with all of those people. We in the first week we had like 5 brides lined up, and everyone was inviting us and helping us. And I mean, at the current stage, we've been here for like 2 months, but we've already made like 10 groups of friends, and it's just amazing. And when you speak to other people and they say, it took us like 6 months to just engage with people and make friends, and then I'm just like, we are so blessed because we landed here, we had the perfect home, like we had no issues, and the container came and the dogs came, and we've got a supporting system, so we can't complain.
Thanks so much for sharing your story. It's been really great to hear how you've settled in, and just, oh man, how people are looking out for each other and helping each other in times of need. Excuse me, the warm and the fuzzies, Did you know that? It
does. And you know what? It makes it easier. And even in not only South Africans, like in my job, I work with a lot of different cultures in my office. And then everybody has the same story. Somewhere along the line, someone made the move, and someone went through the difficult processes so they could have the better life. So like my boss as well, he made the same move when he was 27. He came from Portugal. So went through the same things, went through the same stresses, and you look, and that's one thing that I simply love about Australia is the diversity of cultures and everybody just loving each other and having respect for each other, nobody looking down on the other one. And that's the thing, like us immigrating or coming to Oz, and you're not actually an Aussie, you feel so at home because half of Australia is not Aussies. So it's just like, and not even South Africans, just lovely different cultures and diversity, and it just gives you hope. Like it literally gives you hope.
So you're happy here?
Very happy. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful story. And thanks for sharing your story. You will definitely encourage other South Africans who are considering coming or unsure, or some who are busy with the process, just to give them a glimmer of hope, that yes, it's not always easy. It does take a lot of time, but if you just hang in there, you'll make it through. That's right. It's worth it. You can do it.
You can do it. It's definitely worth it.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Enjoy your Sunday, and hopefully we can catch up in another year or so and hear how you guys have further settled in.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me. Have a lovely day.
Thanks, you too.
Okay,
goodbye.
Bye.
All right. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you had fun, please remember to hit that subscribe button, and then it'll make sure that you never miss a thing. I'll see you same time and same place next week. Bye for now.